Hi, this is Stephanie Miller from The Stephanie Miller Show. Please enjoy this exclusive clip from my show on Political Voices Network. Age and a lot of time on the world stage and that kind of experience brings you is
Sure.
what Biden's, which is where I get into my fight with you because last week, now you know I was Team Kamala in the primary, and
Yeah.
then when she got out early, I was Team Liz. So I am so with you 1,000% on President Harris at some point. But I don't know if you were saying, look, if it's Joe Biden's choice for some reason and he steps down, I'm all the way Team Kamala. But I don't want to give oxygen to that he should step down. Were you saying that you thought he
Oh, no,
should
no.
step? Okay.
Yeah, what I said was,
All right, let's go right to the makeup sex then. I'm sorry. I was wrong.
if Joe Biden wants to do something earth-shattering to reverse what the youth, the Muslims, everyone, and to screw the Republicans royally, is he could have a presidential announcement on Christmas Day or Christmas Eve and say, "I'm giving the United
All
States
right,
president."
I'm not giving oxygen to that. Let's just move on.
Oh, okay. I'm not saying he should, but I'm just
Okay.
saying,
All right.
if Kamala Harris were suddenly to become the 47th president of the United States, Republicans would have to throw out all those baseball caps.
Yes,
That's
okay.
true.
I'm
That is
with you.
true.
I'm with you on that.
Yep.
Let's
All
just
right.
talk about what
But
show
just
the
okay.
Republican Party is. You retweeted House GOP rejects Hunter Biden's request to only testify publicly. Comer, Hunter Biden is trying to play by his own rules instead of following the rules required of everyone else. That won't stand with House Republicans. And Joe Walsh just said, haha, he called the House GOP's bluff. They're afraid. I mean, any normal person can understand this, right? If you're not afraid, you're like, great, let's do it in the open.
Yeah, I love this story. I love it. It's the full Hillary, right? It's
Yes.
You can just see
Great,
him
I'll
sitting
give you
there
11
with
hours.
you can see him just sitting there with his hand in his chin on his head, going, "Okay, y'all want to look at my penis?" You know, fine.
Let Marjorie Taylor Greene wag the thing and he'll go,
Yeah,
oh,
it's just
yeah,
like,
no,
hey.
you know what? It's a lot bigger in person. Okay, yeah, you want to hold that up to the camera? Go.
Yeah, it's just like, hey, could you bring out Exhibit 11B again, please, ladies? I mean, just say my life was crazy. Everyone has a child, or brothers or sisters who have struggled with addiction,
Sure.
and that he would become so sympathetic. But the question would be, did you work for your dad and give your dad a criminal cut? He'd go, nope. And they go, oh, so you're admitting it, right? The Ben
Yeah.
Shapiro move, right? Where he puts the words in your mouth. No, I did not, right?
Yeah.
This is what they don't want.
Yeah.
They do not want.
Yeah,
Hunter
watching
Biden.
Jake Tapper bitch slap, what do you call it, Jim Jordan into the next election
Yeah.
cycle on this whole Burisma nonsense.
So hard he wears a jacket.
Fantastic. So Malcolm, I was saying I just remember a simpler time. we just automatically stood with our friends. We knew who our friends were around the world. And also, I hate to say it like this, but how has it been lost that this is in America's best self-interest as well, to help our allies around the world, whether it's Ukraine or Israel? And I don't know, I'm blue in the face saying it. Ukraine is not a war. It's a terrorist attack on a sovereign nation of Ukraine. Since when is this a dispute in Congress like going on now?
Well, this dispute started when Donald Trump tried to extort President Zelensky a few years ago, and that got him impeached.
Yeah.
If you recall, all of those Javelin missiles, right? Thousands of Javelin missiles, almost $500 million in aid that the Defense Department, even under Barack Obama, had authorized. All of that was held hostage when Donald Trump couldn't get Zelensky to form a fake investigation so that he could go after Joe Biden and Hunter Biden. From that very moment, that was it. Fight spawn. Vladimir Putin's baby, big fat orange baby, decided that Zelensky is an enemy of, Trump land, not the United States.
Right.
I mean, since World War II, we have always defended and protected our allies. And back to your analogy about Ukraine being a terrorist attack. Yeah, let me give you an analogy to Hamas, to Israel and Hamas. The Russians are Hamas in this circumstance, right? They invaded Ukraine out of nowhere and started killing thousands and thousands of civilians. So, Ukraine definitely has the right to defend themselves. But Donald Trump says no because his Moscow daddy says no.
Yeah. Well, and we've been obviously, this has gotten so emotional. I know you've been in a million Twitter fights over the whole Middle East situation. But, I just started the show with this. You retweeted pro-Palestinian protesters demonstrate outside the memorial service for former First Lady Rosalind Carter in Atlanta. And you retweeted Luis Moreno, who said, "Damn, what utter ignorance. The last time I saw President Carter was when I took him to the Erez crossing, where he went into Gaza to plant a fir tree from Lebanon to symbolize peace. As a U.S. official, I couldn't go with him. No one spoke up for the Palestinian people as Carter did." And, as I said, whatever your ideology or your side of any issue, funerals should be off limits, right?
Oh yeah, well, Carter got the Nobel Prize for peace, or got Menachem Begin and Anwar Sadat the Nobel Prize for peace. Right. He literally stopped all major wars between Arab states and Israel, and he knew the issue very intimately. Yeah. But here's another thing about our pro-Palestinian activist brothers and sisters: it's getting out of hand where they think it's appropriate, laying down in front of Grimace at the Thanksgiving Day parade in New York City. That did not help them. It makes people hate them. Going to Jimmy Carter, instead of, giving him a moment of silence and saying thank you for, everything you've done at Camp David. Nope. Protesting Israel. I mean, of all of the presidents that helped the Arab people in Israel come to reconciliation, it was Jimmy Carter.
Speaking out of hand, I mean, it's on all the sides, these poor, Palestinian students that were shot in Vermont. I don't know if you saw this. The Vermont shooting suspect appears to have a YouTube account with videos that include "Expose Fauci." It's like talking about all the politics being scrambled. This Islamophobic, anti-vaxxer idiot, or as I've said on the other side, how do you think attacking Jews or Jewish businesses in America is going to free Palestine? I mean, people have just lost their minds around this whole thing.
Well, it's polarizing. It's become very polarizing. And I don't get in Twitter fights because I like Twitter fights. Yeah. But I certainly like to end them when they're thrown at me. Because I spent my whole career in the Muslim world, helping Muslim states. Believe me, my presence has stopped more stupidity by U.S. commanders with bombs than you could ever imagine. To where I'm the guy who goes, "Hey, listen, I've been there. This is my, I understand these people." And they go, "Oh, I didn't know that. Well, we won't bomb those guys, in their mosque."
Well, and can I just say, you're not only a patriot, you're a terrorism expert. So, when you say this is a terrorist attack on civilians in Ukraine, this is a terrorist attack by a terrorist named Vladimir Putin. When you say Hamas are terrorists, then this is a terrorist attack on, Israeli civilians. Again, you've criticized the Israeli side many times,
I got that thrown at me this morning. Oh, you're supporting Israel's terror. Some of you may not like what I'm going to say, but I watched.
I can tell you that's true.
Public career, starting with the waterboarding debate, was my support of ethics in military conflict.
Yeah.
All right. If I see something wrong, I'll call it out in a heartbeat. Abu Ghraib, all these other things. The U.S. does stupid things too, but Hamas launched this war and invaded Israel on October 7th. And my problem is all the people who refuse to believe there ever was an October 7th. And, every time I mention it, they go back to 1947, 1948. And I go, you're doing occupation. Get a dictionary. You want occupation? Go back to the Roman occupation of Judea in 6 BC. That was an occupation that lasted for centuries. What about the First Judean War? These people have all been there for centuries themselves. But there is a history. But this one started with the massacre, breaking of a ceasefire and massacring 1,200 civilians. You cannot let that go. Now, does that, people say, "Oh, but you don't care about Arabs and Palestinian children." I love those children. I do care about them. I've been to weddings and shot the gun and had kids crawling all over me. But war is horrible. And Hamas bought that war to its people deliberately. They wanted Israel to attack. They have actually said it in their videos that they need the blood of Palestinian women and children to mobilize their fighters. So, if you've just gotten into this thing, if you're just, trying to be an ally to the pro-Palestinian side, you can be an ally to the people who are pro-Palestinian people. But
Yeah.
if I hear you say, like those idiots up in Berkeley who came up and said, armed resistance is legitimate. ISIS, that's like saying Al Qaeda smashing those airplanes on 9/11 is legitimate. ISIS beheading everybody was legitimate. Don't go there. All right? What you're doing is you are doing open support of a terrorist group.
Yeah.
And should that change into any other things, like you becoming a real activist, that could become material support for a terrorist group. Right? And that's what the FBI sits around looking for.
Yeah.
The guy who shot those 3 men was also a terrorist.
Yes.
Islamophobia was off the charts for decades. And now I got both sides going at each other.
Yep. You wrote a piece, Hostage Warfare. Did Hamas's strategy work? Again, this was their strategy. So talk to us about, I've said on this show, I don't know your take, but I think if Trump were in office, Gaza would be a parking lot and every hostage would be dead. So talk to us about... No
question.
Yeah, go ahead.
No question. Trump would have told Netanyahu, do whatever you want. The United States will support you, and we may even provide airstrikes and ammunition to do it. And Netanyahu, who has to go, right? He's responsible for everything that happened to his own people. He didn't protect the people of Israel here. He moved soldiers away so that he could further seize land in the West Bank.
Thank you.
And took those soldiers off the border. That guy's done, right? But for everyone else who is complaining about this, okay, you have to understand Joe Biden got this war to stop. I've never seen a war come crashing to a halt. They haven't wiped out everybody up in northern Gaza. They will. This war will restart. But you know what? Getting the women and children out of the way, allowing the Palestinians to move south, all right, and let Hamas get what Hamas deserves, which is the ISIS treatment. Elimination. You want to fight this game? You want to do terrorism? There's a resolution to that, too.
Yeah. I'm reading a tweet in front of me. New reporting shows without President Biden's leadership, it would have been increasingly likely that no hostages would be returned from Hamas. Both Israeli and Qatari officials are praising Biden's leadership for saving innocent civilians in this conflict. I'm sure you've gotten into this on Twitter and elsewhere. Is losing my mind this weekend with people saying I'm Muslim and every Muslim and Arab, friend I've talked to in America is not going to vote for Biden.
Okay.
Because of the Middle East. And I understand, like Mehdi Hassan said, Democrats need to understand the anger. That's a political point that he's right on. But I of course, my head explodes going, you're going to vote for Muslim ban guy for a Republican Party that wants to expel every Palestinian from the United States now? You're going to vote for that party?
Muslim ban. This is going to be like 1939 Germany, right? The people that he literally said he will expel 1 million Palestinians or anyone that's sympathetic to them, which could also mean American citizens. He could strip away through the courts residents their right to permanently remain in the United States. And look, the last time this happened, George Takei had tweeted about this himself. He's the child who grew up in a Japanese internment camp in California. This isn't going to have a litmus test either. They're just going to do it this time. And, you don't vote for the destruction of your own community. If you're mad, be mad. All right. But if you think Donald Trump is going to do anything other than obliterate your community, you don't understand Donald Trump. If you want to back a strong man who, for one fleeting second, is not the guy who's in office right now, okay?
Yeah.
Then you're all making a horrible choice.
Yeah.
We're coming into the political version of The Handmaid's Tale.
Yep.